Count one, the jury has found you guilty of murder and other counts contained in the indictment against you. They have considered the circumstances surrounding that murder and found that aggravating circumstances exist. With respect to count one, ma'am, I impose the sentence of death.
You! Everybody want to know? Yes, I did kill her!
In a lightning
I'm not gonna go down for something I don't remember doing. I'm not going down for a murder that didn't even happen. I didn't know. I'm not doing. I'm not.
According to her logic, if she doesn't remember committing the crime, she shouldn't have to do the time. In courtrooms across the country, some women take the phrase bad reaction to a whole new level. I am talking next-level delusion and full-on courtroom chaos. Take this one for instance. She was sentenced to years behind bars, and what does she do? She attacks her own lawyer. But wait, it gets worse. Another woman took it even further. She didn't like what the judge had to say. So naturally, she attacked the judge. In this video we will look at these evil women and their reactions to prison sentence. Mitchell Blair. Mitchell Blair was convicted for torturing and killing two of her children, Stephen Barry and Stony Blair. She then hid their bodies in a freezer for over 2 years while continuing to live in the same home with her other children. In 2015, Blair, then 35, was unemployed and struggling financially. She was eventually evicted for not paying rent. On March 24, when an eviction crew arrived to remove her belongings, they discovered the frozen bodies of her children inside a freezer. One was wrapped in a plastic bag and the other in a blanket. The bodies were identified as 9-year-old Stephen Barry and 13-year-old Stony Blair. The medical examiner ruled their deaths as homicides, with blunt force trauma as the cause. Blair confessed to the murders at the Wayne County Circuit Court, claiming that she killed the kids after finding out they were maltreating her youngest son. However, this claim has never been substantiated, and her oldest child, Gabby, said there was no concrete evidence that either of the children mistreated her younger brother. According to Blair's confession, she walked in on her youngest son simulating immoral activity using toys. When she asked him if anyone had touched him that way, he allegedly said that his 9-year-old brother, Stephen, had. Blair then stormed into Stephen's room, and after he allegedly confessed to mistreating his younger brother, she began punching and kicking him. For 2 weeks, Blair tortured her son. She starved him, suffocated him with a plastic bag and poured boiling water on his genitals, which made his skin peel off. She also strangled him with a belt, lifting him off the ground while taunting him. Stephen died from his injuries on August 30, 2012. Blair then wrapped his body in a blanket and hid it in the freezer. 9 months later, Blair claimed she found out that her 13-year-old daughter, Stony, was also maltreating her youngest son. She then began starving Stony and brutally torturing her until she died in May 2013. During her trial, she repeatedly interrupted proceedings and openly admitted to killing her children.
You! Everybody want to know? Yes, I did kill her!
In a lightning
In June 2015, Blair pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and felony murder. She is serving a life sentence in Michigan without parole. Her surviving children, Gabby and her younger brother, were placed in their great-aunt's care and have undergone therapy for the trauma they experienced. In prison, Blair has continued to be violent, attacking another inmate and committing 28 rule violations. Because of this, she has been in solitary confinement since 2015. Much like Blair, the next entry was responsible for the tragic death of her own stepdaughter in one of the most horrific ways imaginable. Tiffany Nicole Moss. Tiffany Nicole Moss was convicted in 2019 of starving her 10-year-old stepdaughter, Imani Gabrielle Moss, to death. Imani was born in 2003, but her mother, who struggled with drug addiction, gave up her parental rights. Her father, Iman Moss, gained full custody but had a history of domestic violence. He later married Tiffany in 2009, and they had 2 children together. Tiffany began mistreating Imani, and in 2010, after losing her job, it got worse. Imani told a school nurse she was afraid to go home, and an examination revealed multiple injuries. Tiffany was arrested for child cruelty, pleaded guilty, and was sentenced to 5 years of probation. Imani was briefly placed with her grandmother, Robin, where she did better in school, but was later returned to her father and stepmother. Over the next few years, the family moved frequently, and Iman, who worked long hours, was often absent. Tiffany's mistreatment of Imani continued. For weeks, Imani was locked in her room with no food while Tiffany continued to care for her own children. Neighbors never saw Imani, unaware she was even living there. In October 2013, Imani suffered what her father, Iman, thought was a seizure. He found her shaking and unresponsive in the bathtub but did not seek medical help. She remained in bed for days, unable to eat, and died on October 28, weighing only 32 pounds, the average weight of a 3-year-old. That day, Tiffany, Iman's wife, called him at work to say Imani had died. When he got home, he found Imani's body on a blanket in her bedroom and suggested calling the police, but Tiffany refused, fearing she would lose her children. Instead, she convinced Iman to help cover up the death. They kept Imani's body in their apartment for days while continuing their normal lives. Tiffany bought new bedding to replace the soiled ones Imani had used, and the couple discussed ways to dispose of the body. On Halloween, Iman bought a trash can, charcoal, and lighter fluid. They stuffed Imani's body into a trash bag, compressed it with duct tape, and attempted to burn it in the trash can. When it didn't fully burn, they took the remains back home. The next day, Iman went to work with Imani's body still in his car. Overcome with guilt, he confessed to a friend who urged him to call the police. In 2015, Iman pleaded guilty to felony murder and concealing a death, receiving life in prison without parole. He testified against Tiffany, who refused a plea deal. On April 29, 2019, Tiffany was convicted of multiple charges, including malice murder and child cruelty. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours before sentencing her to death.
Count 1, the jury has found you guilty of murder and other counts contained in the indictment against you. They have considered the circumstances surrounding that murder and found that aggravating circumstances exist. With respect to count 1, ma'am, I impose a sentence of death.
She became the first person in Georgia to receive the death penalty in over 5 years. As of now, no execution date has been set, but if carried out, she would be the third woman executed in Georgia since 1945. The next case involves a murderous couple who completely collapsed upon hearing their fate. Erica Mae Butts and Shanita Latrice Cunningham. Erica Mae Butts and Shanita Latrice Cunningham were convicted for killing 3-year-old Serenity Richardson. In 2009, the couple was caring for Serenity at their home in Summerville, South Carolina, while her mother, Aisha Richardson, moved from Detroit. Butts, Serenity's godmother, was supposed to be looking after her. During the 2-week visit, Butts admitted to whipping Serenity with a belt for wetting the floor and claimed she fell multiple times in the bathroom. On November 3, 2009, when Serenity struggled to breathe, Butts called her mother but didn't explain what had happened. It was Butts' mother who eventually called 911. When paramedics arrived, Serenity had already died. Her body was covered in bruises, cuts, and swelling, with only the soles of her feet and armpits left untouched. Investigators determined that Serenity died from severe blunt force trauma. Cunningham, who was also a mother, admitted to her own mother that she had hit the girl. She claimed to only realize how badly she was injured while giving Serenity a shower. In a desperate attempt to revive her, Cunningham suggested putting Serenity on ice and even held bleach under her nose, but nothing worked. When the child didn't wake up, Cunningham fled the state. Police arrested Butts after Serenity's autopsy, and Cunningham turned herself in 3 days later. With donations from Charleston and Detroit, Serenity's family was able to bring her body home to Michigan for burial. Both Butts and Cunningham were charged with homicide. Butts entered an Alford plea. This means she didn't admit guilt but acknowledged that a trial would likely convict her. Her partner, Cunningham, pleaded guilty outright. The court treated both pleas the same, and each woman faced 20 years to life in prison. The judge accepted their pleas but delayed sentencing until Serenity's family, who lived in Michigan, could attend. Chaos erupted in a South Carolina courtroom when the two former lovers broke down after receiving life sentences.
And as such, the court finds it appropriate that each be sentenced to the State Department of Corrections for a period of life. You will get credit for any of the time that you've served. That will be
Shocking video captured court officials rushing to help Erica Mae Butts and Shanita Latrice Cunningham as they collapsed. Authorities had to wheel them out of the courtroom one by one. The next woman committed one of the most horrific crimes in history. Taylor Parker. Taylor Parker was convicted for murdering 21-year-old Reagan Simmons Hancock and kidnapping her unborn baby, Braxlyn Sage, in New Boston, Texas, on October 9, 2020. The baby later died at a hospital. Parker committed the crime to stop her boyfriend, Wade Griffin, from leaving her. She had faked a pregnancy, staged ultrasounds, and even held a gender reveal party, despite having had a hysterectomy in 2015, making pregnancy impossible. Her ex-husband, Tommy Wakasi, had warned Griffin about her, and hospitals were already on alert in case she tried to steal a newborn. The crime scene was horrific, with blood everywhere. Parker brutally attacked Hancock, hitting her with various objects, including a heavy mason jar filled with sand, and stabbing her in the neck with a scalpel. The struggle started near the garage door, and Hancock tried to escape, leaving a trail of blood through the house. She fought desperately, even losing a fingernail, but Parker overpowered her and cut the baby from her womb. The baby was taken to a hospital in Oklahoma but did not survive. While waiting for trial in jail, Parker continued breaking rules, lying about her medical history and plotting scams. She used the jail's email and phone system to discuss her schemes and even tried to frame a vulnerable inmate by faking evidence and tampering with witnesses. Her sentencing began on October 12, 2022, and after just 90 minutes, the jury sentenced her to death. Prosecutors argued that her history of lying, manipulation, and personality disorders made her a future danger. The defense claimed she had been failed by her family and support systems and pointed out that she had no disciplinary issues in jail. The next woman murdered her stepson and got a well-deserved hell in court. Miranda Casares. Miranda Casares was found guilty of starving her 4-year-old stepson, Benjamin Benji Cervera, to death. In August 2021, a nurse at a San Antonio Children's Hospital raised the alarm. Benji was dangerously thin, covered in bruises and clearly starving. An autopsy confirmed the worst. During the trial, the jury saw heartbreaking videos taken just days before Benji died. In them, he was crying, shaking, and begging for food and water. Casares said she recorded the videos to show the boy's father how badly Benji was suffering. Her defense painted her as a caring mom doing her best. They even brought in a medical expert who claimed there wasn't solid proof Benji died from starvation. They suggested he may have had undiagnosed type 1 diabetes. But Benji's older brother told a different story. He testified that Casares regularly mistreated Benji, forcing him to eat hot sauce and hand sanitizer, throwing him down on purpose, and refusing to feed him while the rest of the family ate. Casares denied it all and blamed Benji's dad, Brandon Cervera Sr., but text messages between Casares and her own mother showed otherwise. They talked about not feeding Benji. Combined with the medical examiner's findings, that was enough for a conviction. Casares was sentenced to 25 years in prison. She'll have to serve at least half before being considered for parole. Benji's father also got 25 years for his part in the tragedy. Even after the verdict, Casares' lawyer claimed she was innocent and said he plans to appeal. Much like Casares, the next woman on this list also recorded her own horrors, and that footage would come back to haunt her. Sarah Boone. 46-year-old Sarah Boone was found guilty of killing her boyfriend, 42-year-old Jorge Torres Jr., by locking him in a suitcase. According to reports, Boone convinced Torres to get inside the suitcase at their home in Winter Park, Florida. She zipped it shut and ignored him as he begged to be let out. The next morning she found him dead inside. Prosecutors said Boone killed him on purpose. Her lawyers argued she acted out of fear after years of mistreatment and suffered from battered spouse syndrome. On October 25, the jury convicted her of second-degree murder. Then on December 2, 2024, she was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
Court pronounces sentence as follows. Ms. Boone, court sentences you to life in the Department of Corrections, with credit time served that Madam Clerk will provide to you momentarily. There are also court costs and costs of prosecution, which Madam Clerk will give you the totals of momentarily.
At sentencing, Boone claimed she had been maltreated during the relationship and blamed Torres's family for not helping her. Her case got a lot of attention, not just because of what happened but because of her strange behavior. Boone went through 8 lawyers before the trial. Most quit because of disagreements. In June 2024, the judge decided she had to represent herself in court. Key evidence included the suitcase itself and disturbing videos Boone recorded the night Torres died. In the clips, Torres begs to be let out while Boone mocks him. During the sentencing, Torres's family spoke out. His mother cried and his sister said Boone deserved to rot in jail. Boone asked for forgiveness, saying she didn't mean to kill him, and again accused the family of ignoring her situation. The judge refused to give her a new trial and gave her life behind bars. The next woman disagreed with the judge and went directly for her. Melissa Hardwick. On July 13, 2011, Melissa Hardwick lost it in a Kentucky family court. She was in a hearing for a domestic violence case filed by her estranged husband. Judge Jennifer Edwards warned her to calm down, but Hardwick kept yelling. The judge gave her 10 days in jail and told her to leave the courtroom.
Miss Hardwick,
No.
you will be held in contempt of this court if you
I
become
don't
disruptive.
care. I haven't done anything to this court. I haven't done anything to
Okay.
him.
She'll be arrested for
It doesn't
contempt days for contempt of court. You go now.
Instead, Hardwick jumped over the bench and attacked the judge. Security rushed in and stopped her. She ended up with cuts and scratches on her face. Hardwick was hit with multiple charges, including threatening someone involved in a case and resisting arrest. She got 120 more days in jail for contempt of court, and her bond was set at $25,000. The judge also decided the domestic violence order against her would stay in place. Up next, a woman who claims she couldn't be guilty because she doesn't even remember doing the crime. Vegas Bray. Vegas Battaglia Bray was convicted of first-degree murder for killing her ex-boyfriend Victor Saucedo. They dated briefly in 2011, then broke up, but stayed in touch. That's when things got strange. Bray became obsessively jealous. She slashed Victor's tires, keyed his car, threw a jar of jelly through his window and egged his door. He even moved to another apartment in the same complex, but she kept stalking him. In the months leading up to the murder, Bray wrote disturbing things on her computer. One file, a so-called bucket list, detailed her plan: buy a gun, find Victor, kill him, and then take her own life. The night before the murder, she went to Victor's place. They had slept together. The next morning, he turned down her invitation to breakfast. That made her angry. On October 16, 2012, Bray returned to his apartment. Minutes later, a neighbor heard gunshots. Bray then called her brother and said she thought she had shot Victor. She also called 911, saying she wasn't sure what had happened. Victor was found dead with 9 gunshot wounds. Bray told police she blacked out while driving, and the next thing she remembered was being on the ground near Victor's body. She said she couldn't explain the blackout to the 911 dispatcher. Her defense claimed she had PTSD and other mental health issues, causing her to dissociate and not realize what she was doing. A psychiatrist backed this up. But prosecutors pointed to her long history of jealousy and stalking and the fact that she bought a gun 2 months earlier. They also showed the violent notes she wrote about Victor. In the end, the jury didn't buy the blackout story. They found Bray guilty of premeditated murder. She was sentenced to 50 years to life in prison. During the trial, Bray broke down in court, saying she couldn't be blamed for something she didn't remember.
I'm not gonna go down for something I don't remember doing. I'm not going down for a murder that didn't even happen. I didn't know. I'm not going down for something I don't remember doing. And if people can't tell the story straight, this is probably why I'm here in the first place.
Her brother testified, saying she called him the day of the shooting. Once to say she loved him and again to confess to the killing and talk about suicide.
I called her again, and she picked up, and she told me what had happened.
What'd she tell you?
And she killed her boyfriend.
What words did she use?
Just like that. She's like, I shot him.
Like this video? Tap the card on your screen for more just like it.